we need to talk about this. And sadly, we still do, but here we go. So, the UK Supreme Court last week robbed in the illusion of neutrality decides that the term woman under the Equality Act means biological sex, not identity, not experience, not the pain of living misrecognized, not the courage of transition, just chromosomes fixed at birth. XX, XY, no exceptions. The ruling is precise and clinical, but which, granted, are something admirable in legal texts, but its implications are far from it. It sends a signal, one that echoes far beyond legal textbooks and parliamentary chambers. It tells trans women you do not belong here, not in the legal definition, not in diversity statistics, not in the women's shelters, not in the story at all, really. But law, like gender, is not immutable. It is written by those in power and rewritten by those who dare to challenge it. So, I'm not a legal expert, so we're not going to go into detail of this ruling, but we're going to look at in best sociological manner and everything that is behind, because this is crucial. And one part of that is we follow the money, right? The legal campaign behind this ruling wasn't spontaneous. It was funded, well organized, and branded. Behind the curtain, there's a network of think tanks, lobbyists, and anti-trans pressure groups. Many with ties to far-right ideology. And like, there, this is really something we need to fucking emphasize. And their currency is fear, right? Their strategy is division. They're like, us, them. We want to make women feel safer if there are no men dressed up as women in bathrooms. So they wrap exclusion in the language of feminism and women's rights, supporting women, and call it protection. And then there are people like J.K. Rowling, once a storyteller beloved by many, who is now a figurehead of the gender critical movement and one of the poster turfs. I think she herself revealed that she put a lot of money behind this legal case in the UK. Um, and recently, I think she has been has gained more headline attraction for her rants on X, um, than anything else. And she claims to speak, of course, for all women, but in fact, what she's doing is no different from Elon Musk weaponizing X against the vulnerable. Both use their wealth to punch down at vulnerable communities. Both claim to be silenced while commanding global platforms. Rowling weaponizes her credibility as a storyteller, and Musk does it with tech bro libertarianism. It's the same fucking game and different fandoms. So if you're ready to burn a Tesla, but not your Harry Potter books, really ask yourself why that is. And again, both do whatever they're fucking doing, and it's not about safeguarding womanhood or anything. It's about owning the narrative. And so, and again, I feel this again needs to be said because apparently, I don't know, people. So let's be clear. Biological sex is not binary. It has never been, right? Intersex people do exist. It's about 1.7% of the population, granted. Not that many in percentages, but still a lot of lived experiences. And just to kind of give you an idea, that's about the same percentages for total population as there are redheads. And chromosomes in biology aren't limited to strictly XX or XY. There's XO, XXY. Like, I mean, again, not a biologist, but this is like basic knowledge. Come on, people. Um, Androgen insensitivity, hormonal variances. Sex, as many biological things, is a spectrum, not a switch on off. So gender is not sex. Gender is cultural, historical, and performed. How else would you explain how gender means so many different things to different cultures? Biology wouldn't. Biology remains the same, cultural neutral. The other, sex, is a complex biological system with many, many variables. And modern biology and modern medicine acknowledges variation. And here's the key: only ideology insists on neat categories, on the binary. Because, I mean, if you think of it, right, to reduce womanhood to a uterus, it's not science, it's ideology. Because what would happen with women who are born um, with uterus that are malfunctioning, that aren't functioned as they're supposed to, right? Who can't bear children, or menopausal women? To exclude trans women from it, it's not feminism; it's fear. And I always think a sociological perspective to this is very interesting, as sociology has always called gender a performance. Uh, I mean, of course, we have Simone de Beauvoir, who famously said, one is not born woman, one is grown to be a woman. We have Judith Butler. But also we have male sociologists like Irving Goffman, who kind of like all understood that gender is something you grow into, that you act out, or you need to act out, you need to perform to survive within, right? So you're not born into it, you're assigned it. You're assigned the gender women, woman, and then you're punished or rewarded depending on how well you fucking perform it. And that goes for a lot of other roles. We just the last podcast episode was on the performance of mother and motherhood, right? And one of the the same voices of our generation, Laurie Penny, writes that trans women are not the end of womanhood. They are its vanguard. They do not threaten femininity, they embody it, right? Because think about it, when you risk everything, your home, your safety, your family, your employment, your very life, to be seen as who you are, what could be more fucking real than that? And they know what it means to perform as woman. One could argue they even have are being having been met. They have to meet even fucking higher standards. So trans women are women, and this is a fucking hill I'll die on. And of course, Black feminist scholars like Bell Hooks, Patricia Hill Collins shows race and class and are interwoven into this performance, right? Feminism is intersectional, and the Black trans woman's experiences gender quite differently from a white cisgender executive. Yet both move through a world that assigns them value or disposability based on gender scripts. But then, why, oh why does the binary must be defended at all costs? Conservatives have always loved the binary because it's easy, right? It organizes the chaos, the mess. It puts clear lines in the sand: man, woman, leader, nurture, strong, soft, pure, pure. From this fake clarity is needed to build hierarchies. They legislate power, they justify the unpaid labor of women and the unpaid suffering of anyone who doesn't fit. So the gender binary is not a truth, it's not a revelation, it's a tool. It's a sorting mechanism, a cage disguised as order. It turns bodies into categories and categories into destinies. It says, you belong here, you don't. You stay fucking silent and you don't ask questions. It's the logic of locker rooms, right? The justification of gender violence, the architecture behind wage gaps and dress codes. It's the mechanism behind why fucking razor blades that are blue are cheaper than the pink ones. It sells power to one group and obedience to the other. It upholds a system where inequality can be disguised as biology, as nature, as something that has always been and therefore is right. And to those who feel powerless, especially cis men lost in a world that no longer centers them, oh, bless their poor hearts, the binary offers comfort, right? Certainty. It represents a hierarchy where at least they're not at the bottom. I mean, this is of course why it appeals to incels and other disaffected men. It promises control, it gives them something to blame, instead of looking inwards and realizing, well, maybe I did some bad things in my life. But the binary has a not just social component, it has a spiritual component, right? If you look at the US and modern churches and the rise of mega churches, right? They have become factories of gender essentialism. Evangelical power structures depend on very strict roles: submissive wife, the masculine leader, the head of the table, the obedient daughter. Um, their vision of God is authoritarian, male, and white. Their gospel is a hierarchy dressed in holiness. Like we call it as it is, right? This fusion of theology and patriarchy is evangelical totalitarianism. And it's not just preaching, it's policy. It's in school bars, courtrooms, bathrooms. It spreads through purity culture, trans panic, and the sacred myth of real womanhood. And I hope you can hear in my voice the air quotes and the state. And trans women destroy that illusion by merely existing. They prove gender can be fluid. They choose the cage is not there, right? They resist. They make visible the scaffolding that patriarchy tries to hide. They break the tool, which makes them a threat, and accordingly, why they must be erased, silenced, discredited, not because they're wrong, but because they're right. And that threatens the whole machinery. So I, I often there was a TikTok once I did on a similar topic, and there was like, oh, but um, can I like have like what are like rap like arguments that for to like kind of like make your case that women are women. So first and foremost, actually like look at if the person you're engaging with online or offline, but most likely will be online, is there in an argument in good faith. Like it's really there for like I mean, why are people having an argument? To kind of like expand your like why you should be having an argument to kind of like expand your knowledge and your way of thinking and be like, oh, maybe I've been wrong. Okay, now I'm gonna think differently about it. But this is not why 99% of people online are going into arguments. So like really make sure if this is worth your time before you just kind of go argue with people online. But um I put together some rapid fire arguments to shatter the binary illusion. So here we go. Maybe it serves you. Who knows? So myth one: there are only two sexes, XX and XY. Truth: biology doesn't care about neat categories. Intersex people exist. Chromosomal variations like XO, XXY, and androgen insensitivity prove sex is a spectrum, not a binary. Myth two: trans women aren't real women because they weren't born with female anatomy. Truth: womanhood isn't defined by anatomy, it's defined by how society treats you. Trans women experience misogyny, exclusion, and gender based violence because the world reads them as women. Myth: if you can't give birth, you're not a woman. Truth: many cis women don't give birth or can't give birth. Does that make them any less real? Tying womanhood to reproduction turns bodies into functions, and feminism should know better. Myth four: gender is a fact of nature. Truth: Gender is a cultural system. It shifts across time, place, and politics. The binary is a recent invention, not an ancient truth. Myth five, myth five. Ugh, blah. Trans women are men trying to invade women's spaces. This is a head scratcher. Trans women flee the violence of masculinity. They risk everything to live as themselves, not to access a bloody fucking bathroom, to be a threat to other women. The real threat to women is patriarchy, not trans existence. Myth number 6. Allowing trans women in feminism dilutes the movement. It's actually the other way around. Exclusion is delusion. Feminism that ignores the most vulnerable, trans women, poor women, black and brown women, serve patriarchy, not liberation. Myth number 7. The gender binary protects women. True. The binary actually justifies violence. It's the root of control, not safety. It says women must be small, silent, straight, and everything else is punishable. Myth number 8. Trans women are impersonating women. Truth. No one is risking housing, job, family, safety, and their life to impersonate. Transition is truth, and truth threatens systems built on lies. Myth number 9. It's about protecting women's rights. Funny though, how the loudest protectors of women's rights often stay silent on rape culture, domestic abuse, or economic inequality. They conveniently only show up when it's about time to police gender, not protecting women. Myth number 10. Trans women erase biological women. Trans women expand what womanhood can mean. Inclusion isn't erasure. It's not taking anything away from your womanhood. And if your womanhood feels threatened by someone else's existence, I would really look at what womanhood means to you. So maybe they serve you, maybe they don't. Take from it what you will. These are my 50 pence anyway. So the truth they cannot erase. To be a woman is not to have a body that meets someone else's definition. It is to survive in a system built to harm you, to break you. It is to know your worth when no one else will say it out loud. It is to make yourself real in a world that wants you invisible. Trans women are women, not because they mimic something real, but because they are something real. They are real women. Fiercely, fully, and unapologetically. No ruling, no fantasy author, no billionaire funded campaign can change that. And if they're threatened by that truth, maybe it's high noon they fucking were.